Hello,
Yes.
finally.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so sorry for the technical glitch. I would really like to blame Samsung on record,
Let's do
but
that together.
let's, nothing is Instagram's fault ever, is it?
Never, never.
It's keeping two reader writers away from each other. And imagine if readers can't access a publisher, if writers can't access this.
No, but it's wonderful to see you, and thank you so much for having me over.
Good to see you too. And usually I'm as a full-grown adult, I'm a big fan of children's books.
Okay.
So I think they serve adults much more than they do kids probably. So I'm one of those strange gifters of books who will also read it before I gift it to a child.
I hope
so. Here is
your tribe increases. That's all I can say on that. We need more of you.
I read it first and then I check if I've damaged the spine, just to be, on the safe side. You should not bug a child.
Absolutely. I think you've got it right. All the basics of all the reading for children. You know how particular they are about their books. You've got it spot on.
So what took you into children's publishing and not any other? You could have, had any other genre, because children's publishing actually I find it quite a bit of a bigger challenge, because the readership itself depends on multiple factors. A child always doesn't go and buys himself or herself their first book. So why did you decide to take on this particular genre?
I'll start with, every writer was a reader before. And every writer is a reader while they're writing it, and they're going to continue being readers. So it's the pure joy of the literature that takes you. Starting with children's books, I would say that I've always had my nose buried in books. So much so that till today, I cannot eat without a book in my hand. And it's
must have dal chawal smudges in certain books.
Exactly. And I still remember, if I say the name of a book, I can tell you what food I was eating the day I first read it. Okay, and this goes way back. So I think the associations with children's literature are formed. They are your first steps into the spoken word, the written word. So the association is so deep that it goes way beyond the term of children's books. First of all, that books are not just books. They're not physical entities that we think of them as coming off the press and in libraries. Essentially, they're ideas. They are dreams that you carry within you. Yeah. And I'm sure that you do, because you talked about the food, and that was such an essential part for so many of us. And we did not have the distractions that we do today. So those books were so much into our lives. So I think at some point when I got the opportunity to work with Nidhi Mishra, she is an ex-banker who pivoted from banking to the beautiful world of children's literature. She is an absolute wonderful fan of children. Yeah, she's a fantastic, a connoisseur of literature, especially Urdu. And meeting her was a beautiful point of my life, which, she was the one who encouraged me to be a part of Bookosmia. That is the name of the publishing company that she founded. Yeah, could you guess what it means, Bookosmia?
I know. It comes from bibliosmia?
Yes, absolutely. So bibliosmia is a difficult word, I think, for a child to pronounce.
So it's what my grandmother would have talked.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So that's what Bookosmia really is. So, the association is so much more than the book. It's the smell, it's the touch, it's the feel of books. Yeah. And I think that is what drew me into the world of children's literature.
For many of us who also smell books rather than, so the true term of book junkie, the true sign by the seat at the shop. I know we could be friends. The guy who's smelling, or the person who's, leafing through it before reading it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I hated that during COVID we couldn't do it. It was like a very big part of our lives was taken away.
Yeah.
So I think
this also means a lot of practical thought has gone in, because why I asked genre was, like I said, a book also has to be physically bought, and a child is dependent upon a a loving adult who wants to introduce them to a book, right? So, and these days of social media distractions, for us, books were the social media. That was it, you know. And these days of social media distraction, it's a bigger challenge, no? Children's books reaching children.
Yes, but you could also look at it that way. With the challenge comes a lot of opportunities. So books that I would not have known about before, I now know about. I not just read
And
the
authors.
books, and authors as well. And that's a wonderful thing. I think the best part about us having this whole internet community, and with children. So one of the things we do here at Bookosmia is that we are India's #1 publisher of what kids write,
Yeah,
and
you
and
have some of the youngest authors
yes, and we
on
have
the group.
wonderful, yeah, and what wonderful book reviews they write about. I mean, if you go back to our time, when we read a book, and we really had to find those people with whom we could discuss these books with, over
That's
and above the deeper ones. Like I could ask you, which is one book from your childhood that you think you would want to discuss with someone?
yeah.
Right.
And for me, it would be Jungle Book. It's my all-time favorite. I
That's
must have
one.
read it thousands of times. As you grow up, you read it differently. You read it politically, you read it environmentally, geographically even. So you read it very, very differently as at different ages, I think. It takes me
Absolutely.
0 seconds to answer that question.
No, that's wonderful. And I think that is what these children have found because of the online community. I don't think that anything can replace a book. And I think technology can be a great partner for a reader, because it not just helps you read the book, but helps you share it with your friends who you may not know otherwise, but say a blog on a website. There are so
Yeah.
many websites where you can send in your thoughts, your reviews. And it's been wonderful for these children to find their tribe, to find people who read books.
Before I asked it, in fact, I said, are they contradictory or do they work together?
They do.
And you
Do
just
work.
answered in my
Yes.
mind. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask was these young authors, like, I'm a little embarrassed. They're so young and they write so well, and you don't really see you see the innocence and the imagination, but how can that be written by a 7-year-old? It does make you wonder, like,
I work with kids day in, day out, and it makes me wonder every time. Let me tell you the
yeah,
story, because it really is a life-changing experience for me. When we first started thinking of publishing children's books, the idea was to have truly good original content by children out there. As we
okay,
said that, we also knew, yeah, we also knew that
okay,
perhaps some of these books were work in progress, and we'd have to kind of help them, shape them along the way. And then came two wonderful books that I cannot stop recommending. One is the Mahabharat by 13-year-old Ashrita Surya Prakash. And this child is a prodigy. She's a living encyclopedia of knowledge that is the White Mahabharat. Not
wow,
only does she know every single character, their life stories, their family trees, the incidents, the people. It's the way she understands it and explains it to someone.
how
And
did she come to you, or how did you find her?
so she actually has done a podcast with us. Again, one of the things that we do is we allow children to run their own podcasts, which are live. And one of the topics that they had spoken about was the characters of Mahabharata, the women of Mahabharata. How
Oh,
many of them do we really know and know about? And her
excellent.
podcast was brilliant, and she actually came to us with this book idea, and we were very happy to get that started for her. But the entire book, the words, the style she has written is just brilliant. I was so glad when a very top school in Bangalore picked that up for the 11th standard students of their school as a
Lovely.
syllabus to be discussed. So I think that's a great achievement for a young author, and it's that passion that they have. The
Was
second
author
author I'd love to speak
as
about,
well.
yeah, and the second author I'd love to speak about is Aditi Sauminarayan. Aditi is an 18-year-old girl who came to us with a very special book called Small Stories, Big Thoughts. It was a compilation
Oh,
of her. Aditi is a non-verbal and she is on the autism spectrum, and she uses text to speech to communicate. But her ideas and the way she talks, that is through her words, is exemplary. So good is her writing that she took the conference from here and she won the JK Paper Author Award, a very
Oh,
prestigious
yes.
award. And not only that, but she was invited at various international forums to speak about how she's a leader through her writing without even speaking a word. So,
Fantastic. That's a
yeah.
hopeful thing for so many of, future readers and future writers who may or may not be on the spectrum. It's for the general public
Yes.
that you can overcome challenge. That's fantastic. And this was before your book on the extra chromosome. This
Yes.
author before
Yes.
you. Oh, okay. So is that also a niche ke andar niche, as it were, you're looking at authors and readers on the spectrum, because there is so few books and artwork, etc., catered to a very large population. In fact, a lot of awareness has resulted in everybody realizing that most of us are probably on the spectrum. We just didn't call it that at a certain time, and now the science has evolved so much that it's come to that. So do you
Absolutely.
have a special focus on that now?
Yes, and I'm so glad you brought that up. It's such an important topic, and I'm so glad the Citizen has been talking about it. Inclusion and neurodiversity is something that's very close to our hearts here at Bookosmia. We are the only publisher here who has a dedicated imprint for publishing books
Exactly.
that promote inclusion. And I think the main catalyst for that was, like I said, when we started our initiative of Bookosmia, in which we wanted to give every child an opportunity to be heard, whether it's through
Hmm.
stories, through text or video, whichever way, art, etc. And then we realized we are talking about all children, but really, were we really talking about all children? We mean children who are capable to produce these things.
Yeah.
And that was a huge realization for us. We were very fortunate to collaborate with Mugdha Kalra, who's a BBC 21 woman awardee for our initiative, which is called as Not That Different. She's she's a journalist. You probably know her. She's a well-known broadcast journalist. And her son, Madhav, is on the autism spectrum. So
Right.
conversations with her are what started the ball for us on how we want to look at ourselves as not just doing lip service in the name of publishing, but actually taking this whole inclusion to the kids, where we say that we are not just going to publish, but we want the output from our children as well. And thus came upon two books. The first one is called as Not That Different, which is a comic book based on Mugdha's son, whom I just talked about. Madhav, he has autism. And then, of course, we met Shivani Dhillon, an award-winning social entrepreneur and India Inclusion fellow. She has a daughter, Shreya, who has Down syndrome. And this second book was actually based on their family. So we have taken real stories, real characters.
Write about something you know so well. It's your lived reality.
Yes, not
So
for me as a writer, but yes, through
as an author, which
yes,
is why they can connect
yes,
with a wider readership, because it's so few of these books, like you said, around. Because I was also researching to gift it to a friend earlier, before we even thought about, or before we connected rather. And there is almost nothing. There's medical journals. There are books by adults talking about things. There's too much on ADHD and lots of terms being thrown around. But there's nothing you can just sit back and enjoy a read.
absolutely.
I don't have what you want to read.
No, that's such a great
So
point. I think that's exactly what it is. We don't want, like you said, these medical journals and terms being thrown about. You know what that will do? That's just going to alienate the children further. Yeah,
technication.
it's just going to alienate people further. No one
Yeah.
needs jargon and big sounding words, honestly, because they
Yeah.
scare me. And I'm always worried that am I using the right words and am I saying the right things? Right.
Because these days people,
yes,
no,
and you don't want to offend people. Because I'm so scared to speak, I decide not to speak at all. I keep my distance. Well, exactly. So I think this is where conversations help. So the whole point of writing books like Extra and Not That Different is that we don't talk about the disability as such in the book, like especially in extra, but there is a story of cousins, which is relatable to everyone. We've all spent our childhood time with our cousins. When you meet someone who's a little bit different from you, who takes a little bit more time than you realize that even though she takes more time than me, she may do things differently, but we can still find a lot of things to do together and
Common
have.
space to enjoy each other's presence.
Yes.
So true. That's so true. But
And
this
if you
is
go to,
something you have to present beautifully. The books have to look good. Children don't pick up dull-looking books.
yes,
That's a fact that as a publisher you know very well.
absolutely.
And as a super aunt who gifts them, I have to be very. It has to look good.
You are a super
So
aunt.
So it's a matter of, do you work with artists or do you have an in-house team? How do you put a book together? That will be great to know. Because while as readers, we just know the other end, the beauty that we hold in our hands. What is the nitty-gritty we are safely away from?
Sure,
So
it's a beautiful
that's
it's a beautiful process. It starts with a lot of brainstorming. So in all the books that I've done, my first one was about the Yakshagana art of Karnataka. Again, we collaborated with an NGO called Yaksha Degula, who has been promoting this Yakshagana dance and other forms of Karnataka for a long time. So whenever you write a book about a subject, it's very, very important to start with a research. So you do a lot of research, you talk to a lot of people. And it's much like journalism. You have to understand the topic.
That is easy for publishers.
Yes. So
Okay. That's a new thing I've learned.
Yes. I mean, in order to put something out for children, you need to be 100% sure that this is vetted, and this is something that you want to share with kids. So I think that's where it starts, with the process of research. And then, of course, once the story is done, it goes through multiple edits. We actually share it with people who are close to, the topic. For example, today we've launched our new mental health journal for kids. And we do it in partnership with experts. We do it in partnership with school counselors. We take in real life examples and we bake it into the story so that it's relatable to the kids. Similar for illustrations. So once this is done, we bring an illustrator on board. We have a wonderful team of illustrators, and yes, and they're all in different parts of India, but it's a very beautiful way in which they come together. We discuss illustration styles. Like you rightly pointed out, children's illustrations need to stand out, and we need to work with where the child wants to pick up the book from the cover itself, but once the child is in, will continue to read. The age group of 8+ doesn't need that many illustrations. They just need, one odd illustration here and there. But the book still needs to be beautifully presented. And that's where we have sessions with the illustrator. We talk about... Sorry?
The cover does matter.
Oh, cover does absolutely matter. Whatever we say about a book, don't judge a book by its cover. You know it. Let's be honest. We all do pick up books with... We all do that. We all pick up books that have interesting covers, and I think that's fair. You're in a sea of books. Okay, your brain automatically...
It's a piece of art itself.
Yes, absolutely. So your brain actually connects with that, and it's very interesting how your brain picks up certain books and someone else's brain picks up certain books. It's all to do with how it's very personal on how we select a book. It's a whole algorithm.
Intense. But how long does it take from manuscript to on the shelf launch?
Really depends on the book. Sometimes if once the story is ready, it will take about 4 to 5 weeks for the illustrations to be done and the book design. And of course, after that, it's just a matter of getting into the press and
So do you have fanfare launches, etc.? Do you have fun launches?
Yes, we like to our launches and experience. So our launches are never about coming in and being boring. It's about the children also actually come in, and we have a lot of activities. We have storytelling. So for example, for our book Extra, we had Shivani come in and tell a beautiful story about a sandwich and how she talk about inclusion through sandwiches. We had activities for each child. for our book, Yaksha, which is about Yakshagana, we actually had Yakshagana dancers come and dance and show the play.
Regalia.
Yes.
Wow.
So I think
quite a spectacle.
Yeah, I think we should do that. The children owe it. We owe it to the children to give them a good show.
And the young authors, do they? It must be such an amazing feeling, no, to stand in front of all those people and get your books.
Absolutely.
So do you have authors?
Yes, we do author signings, and the kind of quality that our young authors have done have really exceeded. When we first started out, we never dreamt the quality would be so good, because there's a general feeling that books written by kids don't really have cut the mark. But our wonderful book called Archie Tata's Kitchen, which is written by an 8-year-old, it's about sharing all his grandmother's recipes and how they make, for example, korakates. Why do they do topakarnams? And these are wonderful words for a child to even say. So that book has been a delight for us. And
a child who's in a different geography to hear,
yes,
and to then say, "Oh, my grandmother does it too, but we call it something else."
Yes.
So
yeah,
that's so cool.
Absolutely.
So how your youngest author?
Our youngest author is 9.
Now 9, or 9 when they published?
9 when they got published.
That's quite young.
Yes.
Are they disciplined writers, or are they like the rest of us?
I work with children and adults, and I must tell you, children are way more disciplined.
Well, that's the honest truth. We need to hear it.
Children are disciplined because they are very interested and keen, and because they don't have filters. That's the most beautiful thing about children. And they pick you and say, "Ma'am, did you read? Ma'am, did you read? Did you read my new draft?" There's that enthusiasm.
They put you on a deadline.
Oh, they put me on a deadline. I'm always on a deadline with them. They always do the work on time. And the best part about the children is they're always willing to learn. They're willing to take feedback. I think a very, very important part of writing is really that. Doesn't matter how many books you publish. Do you have the ability for someone else to say, "Hey, this is not working. Could you look at an option? Could you look at something else?" As writers, we
no. You've never faced a tantrum?
Never so far.
I can just see other publishers fainting at this information.
I've never.
Adult authors told throw quite some attitude once in a while.
Yeah, no, not see. The best part about these children is it's not like they're accepting whatever I say or whatever our team says on face value. When we suggest, they come back. We actually have. They come back and they have retained. They have argued and they have won many of their arguments because they deserve to. They are the author. So when they say, "No, ma'am, I don't think this character will behave like this. I think I want that birthday to be here. I want this."
Have no filter. So yes. they push for the character. They fight for their storyline, perhaps.
They do.
Who wins in the end?
It's. I would say that the story wins in the end. It's always.
That's a. Well, that's
but
should.
And these conversations are delightful. It's never confrontation. Yeah. It's a beautiful intellectual power of words, where the children actually have examples cited. When I read Rick Riordan, the character did this, and the character did grow in this way, and they're able to give examples of how that happened. So I think the moment the child is thinking of themselves as as their characters being bigger than just a small canvas, that these children are going to go far.
Which is why certain books did so well when they were actually read by children and young adults. I mean, Harry Potter, to cite an obvious example. After years of rejection, it's probably a bunch of young people who read it. And no illustrations, nothing. What is our equivalent for Harry Potter book?
So we have this wonderful book called The Power of... In India. So I don't know if I should say Harry Potter, because I can't say equivalent of Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is Harry Potter. But I can say that we have some wonderful series here that everyone must read. First of all, do read books by Subhadra Sengupta. I think she's a standout author that I can think of. There are, of course, Devika Karyappa. There's Asha Nehemiah, Venita Coelho.
Her books have great illustrations as well.
Amazing. Ramin.
Or one of those.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And she's written this book called The Mystery of the Hair Oil. I would love to see that as a movie. It's just so
Yeah.
hilarious. And there's a village with a long name. I think these are wonderful books. And I'm not even calling them children's books. I'm calling them books because, like you rightly pointed out with Harry Potter, I really can't think of a time when it was a children's book.
Yeah.
When I think of Harry Potter, it's like transcends towards, across ages. And I think that's how we should look at books, not really put them into silos, into saying that this is for a child and this is for an adult.
No, like
The best,
Panchali, was that for children or was that for adult? And look at it now, it's a global classic.
that's a great example. Exactly. And even, for example, The Hobbit, it was a children's book, then a movie, and now, people have, you can see the Hobbit fans, they're all like full of tattoos, riding bikes, and they love Hobbit. So
No, this is how I think this is where it starts, and it's so good to talk to you. There is some hope. I think till there are books, there is hope.
always.
If you can leave us with, how does a young author become a published author? What are your top 3 tips to them?
Sure. First of all, read a lot, figure out who your favorite author is. Don't copy them. Do not copy your favorite author.
Yeah.
Figure out your own writing style, and that only comes from writing and a lot of writing. Figure out who among your circle is good at giving you constructive feedback. Take that into account, and of course, at the end of the day, if you think the idea is bad and trash it, don't ever delete it or throw it away. Keep all ideas safe. Make a folder of all your ideas. If you're typing it online, keep it safe. Every idea is.
Do you have tips like how many, one should write a certain number of words every day once this part is done? Is there a discipline in writing?
Yes. So at Bookosmia, in our mentorship program, it's a very simple rule. Can you give 5 minutes to your writing every day? And I know how that's simple that sounds. Yes. Can you give 5 minutes every day, but without exception? If you can do that.
Cynical adults would ask only 5 minutes.
Exactly. But you do it because what happens is, because it's just 5 minutes, you'll be like, I'll do it at any time of the day. And then before you know it, you're really sleepy. And and that is why start with 5 minutes. See if you can do 5 minutes for the next 21 days. And if you can do it for the next 21 days, you can build it up to 10 minutes. But have the same time for writing. For example, I have chosen 5 a.m. as my time. It will be 5 a.m. to 5 a.m. 5. I should not change that. So I think that's a very simple rule that people can start off with and see how it goes.
That's a great brain exercise kind of tip. And then how does a young author who's probably watching us online right now reach you with their story idea?
Yes, please do reach us with your story ideas. The best part about writing is, and I think a lot of people feel intimidated by, I'm not good at English because I'm from a small town. My first language is not English. I don't really know grammar. I want to tell you that grammar pronunciations are something to be worked along the way. It should never keep you from your ideas. The best thing to do is write, and of course, email to us. It's sara@bookosmia.com, SARA@BOOKOSMIA.com, or you can just log on to bookosmia.com, where you will see where to submit. And we welcome all kinds of submissions. You want to write a few lines and just draw a sketch of yourself? Go ahead. You want to send a photograph with a few lines? Go ahead. Because that is your idea and that is original.
Everything has potential.
Yes, everything has potential. An idea is not just a book or a story. It can be everywhere.
And for writers, it's okay to face a rejection, right? I don't know what they call it now. What do they call it now? A non-acceptance.
Yeah, they call it
just plain rejection.
Well, I say that it's what is called as a yay. Okay, when you get a rejection, it's a yay because someone read your work, and that's great. It's out there. Yeah, 99% of people, their work lies buried. Everyone wants to write a book, but it's less than 1% to actually go on to fulfill the dream. It's not because they don't have ability. It's just because in that last stage when they had to hit send, they were crippled with self-doubt. Or when they were writing the story, they began to self-doubt. Never edit.
Yeah, you ran the race. That's important.
Finish it. Just get it done. And then, of course, you can always go and revise. But the first draft, write it without interruption, write it quick. And like I said, if you get a rejection, it's a yay because you have another opportunity to work on it. That's the best part.
Or a new story, maybe,
New
somewhere.
story. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. This really helped, and it was an important question, which, even I'd be a bit scared to ask, how would a child handle rejection? But what is your next step? Are we looking forward to a new book, or are we looking forward to a mentorship program, say in this month, maybe?
Yes. So the mentorship program goes on throughout the year, and we welcome submissions for it. So people can just write to us, and we'll be happy to look at manuscripts. As for the books, like I said, today is World Mental Health Day, and
Yes.
today is the day we launched our mental health journal. It's a mindfulness journal for kids. We're very excited about space, inclusion, neurodiversity, and mental health. It's something that we have spoken about. Our founder Nidhi has actually spoken about it recently at Stanford, at Vanderbilt University, at DIDAC, and a lot of places.
So it's,
yeah, I think mental health for children actually needs to be talked about. It's okay to come and express yourself, to feel and to know about yourself. And what else but journaling? It's a proven method to help you unburden yourself. And definitely children must have a share of that.
what in our zamana was Dear Diary.
Dear Diary always works.
Thank you so much, Archana, for making time. And it's so nice to have this refreshing discussion, in a rather difficult season that all of us are facing due to various things that are happening around us. So much violence, so much hate. But I think escaping into books every once in a while is great. Creating these escape venues are something all of us are very grateful to people like you and your authors.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to speak to you. Thank you so much to Citizen.
Thanks. We'll see you soon in the real world. And quickly, I must now go and order some books.
Please do. You're the coolest aunt, so you should do that.
Bye. See you soon.